I know there's a little bit more history to this plaza that I'd like the governor from Tesuque to speak a little bit about their homeland and some of the historical things that have happened and just a brief perspective on Tesuque and Santa Fe. Governor?
Thank you, George. Good morning. My name is Mark Mitchell. I am the governor for the Pueblo Tesuque. And before we start anything, we always want to let everybody know that welcome to the homelands of Tesuque Pueblo. Prior to the Spanish people coming into this area, Tesuque Pueblo back then was known as Ogapoge, and this is the area. The history books really don't have it written. You have to research to find this information. But here, the Pueblo back then stood about 10,000 strong. With that, fast forwarding to 2005, here downtown, the city council back then was wanting to make sure they build a bigger convention center. And lo and behold, they come across ruins, and they found remains. They found human remains. They found pottery. Well, on our end, there at Tesuque, our elders will always tell us that Tesuque was not here. Tesuque was located in what is now Santa Fe. And I told the mayor back then, Larry Delgado, and city council that the only thing you did for Tesuque was strengthen our oral history by way of finding those items. And now we've moved forward. And to take you back a little bit further, the 1680 Pueblo Revolt. I don't know if anybody of you heard of it. Tesuque runners, Kahtua and Umtua, were the two individuals that ran to the southern pueblos, carrying the message that there was going to be a revolt right here in this city some 500 years ago. They ran from Tesuque down to what is now La Cienega. There's ruins down there, Pueblo ruins. And they ran across what is now I-25 over into the Galisteo. There's ruins down there, San Marcos Pueblo, San Cristobal Pueblo, Burnt Corn Pueblo, San Lazaro. Those were all pueblos that were once in that area, and they ran and they took these knotted cords that signify, as they accepted the leaders of those villages accepted those knotted cords. As the days went by, they untied the knotted cords. And when all was untied, which meant that that's when the day was going to be for the revolt to happen. And the revolt consisted of not only Tesuque, but all of northern pueblos, the Jicarilla Nation, the Navajo Nation, and the southern pueblos. And these two boys, Kahtua and Umtua, they were 14 and 15 years old. Back then, you could, from what we understand, our oral history, you could feel the tension because everybody was doing politicking. The air was really tight. So Pueblo leadership didn't say anything to the two runners. All they told them was, you need to carry these knotted cords to the southern pueblos. So as time went by, and they returned, and mind you, these two boys, ran a marathon over 30 miles, and back in one day. And once the Spanish governor, Alterman, heard about what was happening, he dispatched his soldiers out to Tesuque Pueblo, and thereby arresting these two young boys. Now, tribal leadership was smart back then. They didn't disclose details. They didn't disclose anything. They were just told to take these knotted cords. So when these two boys were being integrated here, they had no clue as to what was going on. And so that's why this morning, the Tesuque dance group, they danced out here. I kind of explained a little bit to those that you were here. Excuse me. Here in this very square where you all are sitting and standing is where these two boys were hung. And there at Tesuque, we will always say they were the first two casualties of the 1680 Pueblo Revolt. And so when we say welcome to the homelands of Tesuque Pueblo, that's what we mean. Welcome to New Mexico, Pueblo country. And this holds strong to those of us as Tesuque Pueblo, this Indigenous Day. It's meaningful. It does, as I stated earlier, it's not in history books. You don't hear it in classes, but we're telling you our story. And that, from here forward, I hope that there's love and respect amongst all races, that no one is greater than anybody, that we all stand on the same ground, eye to eye, and that as we move forward, I hope that I've touched you in your minds and in your hearts, that there's a reason for this, and no longer will nations probably stay quiet about their own issues, because we're at this point in time where we as leaders, we have to make those calls. We have to stand up, and we have to make sure that even the native people are taken care of. As somebody said earlier, health care. We're all facing that. We're all facing the shortfalls of funding all across the board. And that it's not racist. It's just the way it is. But we all have to be educated. We all have to move forward, hand in hand. And so I tell you this story, and I hope that you all realize and understand that you are standing on Tesuque ancestral homelands. That right here in this very square, the two runners, who also by the graces of the previous mayor, Mayor David Koss, and the current mayor, Javier Gonzalez, we're going to put up a statue there at the convention center of the two runners, Katuwa Umtuwa. And Mr. Rivera is the artist. And we're working forward to doing that, hopefully within the next 4 to 5 months. We're getting close. But with that, thank you for your time. And I hope that all our prayers and whatever religions that you come from, that our prayers are answered, and that there be no animosity about anything, that we accept what is there and we accept the truth as being told by the indigenous folks. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Governor Mitchell.